Problem 5 asks, what is the value of 4t squared plus 6r minus tr when t equals -3 and r equals 5? In order to do this problem, really it's just a matter of plugging in the numbers that they gave you for the correct variable. So every time I see a t, I know I'll plug in a -3, so there's two places I'll do that. And every time I see an r, I'll plug in a 5. So as we're writing this down, I'll show you what I'm looking for. So I have a 4, and then I see that there's a t squared coming up. So remember, anytime I see a t, I'll put a -3. It's important that anytime you plug something in, you put it in parentheses. It'll just help you as you're doing the next step of the problem. Plus 6, and then once again I see an r coming up, so I'll put a parentheses. And then every time I saw an r, I was going to be plugging in a 5, so I'll put a 5. And then minus t and r, so I'll put two parentheses there. The first one was a t, so I'll put -3, and the second one was an r, so I'll put a 5. So really it's just a matter of taking your time, making sure you're plugging in the correct thing, and putting it in parentheses. Once again, I looked at this equation to figure out where I was plugging things in. Now it's just a matter of using the order of operations, so make sure you're using GEMDAS. So we have the G is any grouping symbols, the E is you're looking for any exponents, the M is looking for any multiplication or division. Remember, those go together. You just look from left to right when you see both of those in a problem. And then same thing with addition and subtraction. You would go left to right in the problem. What they mean by any grouping symbols is if you see any parentheses, any braces like that, you would be then trying to simplify anything inside of that symbol first. As we're looking at our problem, we just see a parenthesis with one number inside. So since there's nothing actually to do inside the parentheses, we won't use the grouping symbol, or we won't worry about that at all. The next one I see, though, is E for exponents. I do see an exponent right here, so I see -3 squared, and remember what that means is you take the -3 and you multiply it by itself. This does not mean -3 times 2, it means -3 times -3. So as we do that, we get 4 times, and then -3 times -3 was +9. If you need to use your calculator, you can still use your calculator in this section. So please make sure you're being careful with your work. And then I'm just going to write everything else the same way that it was. So -6 times 5 minus 2 parentheses, -3 was in one of them, and a 5 was in the other. So now we've taken care of all exponents. Now we're looking for any multiplication and division. In this problem, I see multiplication here between the 4 and the 9. I see multiplication between the 6 and the 5. And I see multiplication between the -3 and the 5. So I'm going to do those multiplication problems from left to right. So 9 times 4 is 36. Then we have a 6 times 5. In this case, it's a +6 times a +5, which will give me a +30. If one of them happened to be negative and I was doing a -6 times a +5, I would write a -30 there, so a -30. And then finally here, we have the last multiplication part. So I have a -3 times a +5, which is going to give me, so I'm going to bring down this minus first, so this is really this. And then as I do the -3 times the 5, I'm going to write that as a -15. Keeping in mind that anytime I have subtraction and a negative right next to each other like that, I can change it to a plus. So what's left now is 36 plus 30 and plus 15. So we'll have to do this in order from left to right as well. 36 plus 30 is going to give me an answer of 66. And then we're trying to figure out what is 66 plus 15. And in this case, 66 plus 15 is going to give me an answer of 81. So in this one, it's a little bit different. They don't give you the options. They want you to type it in the box. So you type in 81, and that would be the answer.